So with 10 games to go in this championship season, I thought that now was a good time to predict who's going up and who's going down. Let's jump into it. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. I've been waiting to do this one for quite some time now, but I thought that with 10 games to go, it was a decent opportunity to bring to you guys what I see the championship table looking like come the end of the season. Still plenty of room for twists and turns, both at the top and bottom. As always, if you do go into enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like. Get all your thoughts in the comments down below. I want to know from you guys, who do you think is finishing in the bottom 3 and who do you think is going to finish in the top 6. Also, check out the Patreon link, that is down below. Thanks to everyone that has subscribed to that so far, it's massively appreciated. But without any further ado, let's jump into this one. Coming in 24th, I have gone for Wycombe. It would take something pretty miraculous for them to recover from this point onwards. I was pretty impressed with them, to be fair, over the weekend from what I saw against Preston, but with a 9-point gap currently between themselves and Birmingham, and with several teams above them having games in hand, I just don't see that level of consistency that they are going to be able to achieve survival this season. Gareth Ainsworth, I think, has done all he can do with this squad really this season, and there is even the possibility that they do leapfrog Sheffield Wednesday, but for the time being, I think I've got to be predicting Wycombe in that 24th spot. 23rd place, I have then gone for Sheffield Wednesday. Similar story to Wycombe at the moment. It would take a pretty miraculous recovery from this point onwards for them to achieve survival, obviously. With the appointment of Darren Moore, that was very much felt like they were gearing up for life in League One. They were looking to bring someone in who has the characteristics of a manager who's previously worked in League One and is going to look to build back up the Sheffield Wednesday squad from the ground upwards, really. It's going to be a huge rebuilding job over the summer, but from this point onwards, I think it's going to be one step too far for survival. But then that last relegation spot is probably the most interesting thing to talk about at this point in time. I'll show you them both at the same time. So at this point in time, I've got Birmingham in 22nd and Rotherham in 21st. Now obviously, Rotherham currently have 4 games in hand on Birmingham. They only need 1 win to go above them in the league on goal difference. Generally, if we look at Rotherham's season so far, they've tended to win sort of 1 in every 4 matches. So if we sort of take into consideration Rotherham win 1 of those 4 games in hand, that leaves Birmingham and Rotherham level on points from there on in. Now, after that, there is a huge game coming up on the 17th of April where Rotherham play Birmingham, and I really feel like this last relegation spot could completely go down to the wire. The advantage that Rotherham have is having the games in hand. The disadvantage is maybe the fixture pile-up that could lead to burnout. For Birmingham, they made the change with manager Aitor Karanka. As of recording, it's looking like Lee Bowyer might be the man coming in. Birmingham fans, want to get your guys' views on that down below. The question is, have they left it too late with the dismissal of Aitor Karanka to get a real new manager bounce, to get his ideas across to this side? Because I'm in no doubt there's an abundance of quality within this Birmingham squad that shouldn't be being relegated, but there's just no unity there, which I do see with that Rotherham group of players. At this point in time, I'm edging it for Rotherham and their survival case at this point in time, but I really feel like that last spot could go down to the last day. Now these next 3 clubs I think you can probably place in any order really. I've got Huddersfield, Derby, then Coventry. These are the 3 which could very well be dragged into a relegation scrap, but I think we'll just about get enough points on the board to get over the line come the end of the season. The reason I've got Coventry as the highest of these 3 clubs is looking at the run-in each of them have. I think that Coventry have it slightly easier than Derby and Huddersfield do, so for that reason I see them accumulating just a few more points between now and the end of the season. Each of them have sort of had their problems this season when it comes to consistency and that sort of thing. You know, Huddersfield with conceding goals, Derby with not scoring enough goals. But I think with these 3 you can place them in any sort of order really, and I wouldn't have all too many complaints about it come the end of the season, but I do think that each of them will get over the line at the end of it. Next up then, in 17th place, I've got Luton Town. Realistically, they could finish anywhere this season from around about 17th to up to maybe 13th, somewhere around that region of the table. I respect the job that Nathan Jones has done there this season. I think it's a real testament to him that we've never really spoke about Luton in the conversation for getting relegated this season. He built on the platform that they built last season and has taken this squad to the next level. It just depends on how motivated they are to get that finish now, because I don't see them going down. Same thing with Nottingham Forest really. I've got them in 16th. I think that Chris Hughton has done a good job to lay down the foundations for what could be a successful team in the future. I think that in terms of defensive stability, Chris Hughton has improved this Forest side. They've not always been the easiest team to watch on the eye so far this season, but in terms of getting a bit of stability about their play, you know what to expect from Forest now week in, week out, which at the start of the season I don't think you can say. Forest will be be a tricky side, I feel like, from now until the end of the season to come up against, and so I see them having a solid end to the season, finishing 16th. In 15th place, I've then got my side, Preston North End. We've been so hit and miss so far this season. God knows where we're going to end up. I put us 15th. That would be our lowest finish under Alex Neil, and changes are happening at the club, and you feel like maybe a managerial change might not actually be all too far away. I think that how we actually finish this season is going to be quite important for Alex Neil's future. If we continue to dwindle out, that change may come sooner than a lot of us originally expected at the start of the season. But yeah, around this region of the table, we're not going to be relegated, we're not going to go up, it'll be around here. And I think, to be honest, you can say the same for this next string of clubs as well. So I've got QPR, Blackburn, Bristol City and Millwall making up the rest of the sort of mid-table finishes. I think that you can put these clubs in any particular order really, and I wouldn't have all too many complaints about it. Each of them are more than capable of going on a bit of a run themselves. Obviously QPR, we've seen some nice football from lately, but still that feeling of inconsistency about them. Blackburn, their underlying numbers haven't been all too bad recently, but they've been underperforming for the majority of the season so far. Bristol City could well carry on picking up under Nigel Pearson, and Millwall are just not a nice team to play against when it's Gary Rowett at the moment, albeit they're not the easiest team to watch on the eye. So yeah, each of them solid mid-table finishes. 10th place I then got Stoke City. Stoke fans may have seen this season as a bit of an opportunity miss. You know, had Tyrese Campbell not picked up that injury when he did, Stoke really could have pushed themselves onto the next level this season. But it has been an improvement over recent years where, you know, at some points we've been speaking about Stoke as potential relegation candidates. That's not been the case this season, and they have been mixing it in and around the top six, ultimately just falling a little bit short. But they've given themselves that platform under O'Neill to really kick on for next season. 9th place I've got Neil Warnock's Middlesbrough. It would take quite the run from here for them to go ahead and make the top six, and there has been, since the turn of the year really, a bit more of an air of inconsistency about Middlesbrough. On their day, a very good side. I like some of the additions that they made throughout the January window. I think they've given them a bit more edge going forward, but do they have enough about them to overtake some of the teams above them at the moment with the form that they're on? I'm not so sure. Coming in 8th place, I've then got Cardiff, who maybe even left it a little bit too late in their season in going ahead and appointing Mick McCarthy, because had they done that sooner, Cardiff could have very well been a shoo-in for the top six. They've only had one defeat under Mick McCarthy so far, and the only reason I don't see them making the playoffs from here on in is because of the form of some of the sides currently above them. Now, in the first half of the season, I think that Cardiff were incredibly underachieving under Neil Harris, given the tools that he had to work with within that squad. Mick McCarthy's been able to take this Cardiff squad to the level of which we expected them to be at the start of the season. They just probably left them with a bit too much ground to make up on the teams above them. Coming in 7th place and just missing out on the top six, I've then gone for Bournemouth. Now, with pound for pound, Bournemouth have arguably one of the best squads in the Championship. In terms of individual talent, they shouldn't have any problems when it comes to making the top six, but mismanagement of the squad as the season's gone on, we've seen them gradually drop off, and the decision to appoint Jonathan Woodgate when they did in this season might not turn out to be the most of inspired decisions, actually. I think a lot of people probably highlighted that at the time, but their inability to really put together a consistent 90 minutes, you know, we've seen Bournemouth play some fantastic stuff in small spells of matches, but consistently over a 90-minute period, we've just seen one too many drop-offs from this squad. And I think that given some of the other competition which is going for the top six at the moment, competition which for me is looking a lot more consistent, of the teams that are going for it, I see Bournemouth as that last squad to maybe just fall short. Don't get me wrong, the squad there is more than capable of going on a run from now until the end of the season, but I'm just not sure if I can see it at the moment. Coming in 6th place and just holding on to their playoff spot, I've then gone for Reading. Now, what could potentially be Bournemouth's saving grace in terms of sneaking into the playoffs this season is Reading, and the only reason I say that is because I think that their running is considerably harder than some of the other teams who are currently going for the top six. They've still got to play 4 of the top 6 in their remaining 10 games of the season. What I do think will help Reading get over the line, though, is players returning from injury. We've already seen George Puskas chipping in with the goals, Yaku Mate over the weekend, who's now got himself back up and going for the second half of the season, which will be massive for them. If you look at Reading's record this season, actually, with and without Yaku Mate, it's like night and day, so he could very much well be the difference for this squad. But with that tougher running, it's going to really test Reading's character from here on in. I see them maybe dropping down a place into 6th place, but I do think they'll hold on to that playoff spot. Next up then, coming in 5th place and leapfrogging Reading, I have Barnsley. Now, compared to some of the other teams around them, I think that Barnsley actually have a fairly favourable run-in from now until the end of the season. They only have 2 top 6 sides still to play. They've got Reading in a couple of weeks, and then they've got Norwich on the final day of the season. So if before that Norwich game, Barnsley have already secured their place in the top 6, I've got to say they've got to be over the moon with that. Realistically, and pound for pound, this Barnsley squad has like no right to be within the top 6 at the moment, but the job that Valérien Ismaël's done and all the people behind the scenes, because this has been a project at Barnsley which has been in the works for quite some time now. Barnsley have been an incredibly well-run club for the past couple of years in terms of the managerial appointments and the overarching philosophy which has been in place there, and they're reaping all the benefits from that at the moment. I think they've been a fantastic watch this season. What I like most about Barnsley is how adaptable they actually are to different games. So if you want to go direct with Barnsley, you can go direct with Barnsley. If you want to play football against them, they've got a plan for that as well. I feel like their result against Bournemouth at the weekend will be absolutely huge in terms of like mentally getting them over the line this season, because it proves that they are good enough. And momentum's a huge thing in the Championship, and Barnsley have got that in absolute abundance at the moment. But then for me at least, we get into the difficult part of the video, separating 4th from 2nd, because at this point in time I really think it's anyone's game out of Watford, Swansea and Brentford for that 2nd place. I put this poll out on the community tab the other day, and 41% of you voted for Swansea for finishing 2nd this season. I've changed this around so many times in the last hour or so that I've been compiling this video, and to be honest with you, I'm still not completely sold on who I think is going to get 2nd. I think it really will go probably down to the final day. So coming in 4th place by my estimations, I've actually got Swansea in there at the moment, which may be a little bit of an unpopular opinion. Obviously it does go against the grain for what you guys voted for. With Swansea, you can look at them in one of 2 ways at the moment. For me, I'd say their last convincing performance, where I thought, oh, Swansea were brilliant then, you know, fully deserving of the 3 points, was probably all the way back in early February when they beat Norwich, and since then they've been picking up results quite consistently, but the level of performances haven't quite been there. And so either the performances start to pick up and the results carry on as they go along, or the performances stay at the same sort of level and ultimately a few more points get dropped here and there, because I think there has been an air of fortune with Swansea with their last few matches. So whether they click back up into gear for the tail end of this season, it's going to be very telling. I really can't call Swansea in which way they're going to go. I honestly have absolutely no idea. I think that Swansea fans themselves are a little bit perplexed by how they think they're going to finish this season. So me calling it, honestly, I've got no idea. The last game of the season's up against Watford though, and that could be the decider at the end of the day. Coming in 3rd place and just missing out, I then have Brentford, and I feel like a few people are starting to write Brentford off where I think it would be foolish to do so. If any Championship side has showed over the past couple of seasons that they're capable of stringing together a run of results where they go unbeaten for an extended period of time, Brentford are exactly that. They did it earlier on this season, they did it last season as well. I know that ultimately they fell off in the end, but Brentford have a run in now where I could realistically see them winning like their next 6 matches. That wouldn't surprise me with the sort of games that they do have coming up. Now, the second to last day of the season, they face Watford, so Watford's end of the season is very tough, but we'll touch on that in just a second. Brentford have had a little bit of a blip in their season recently. That sort of coincided with Ivan Toney picking up the injury and getting himself back up to full fitness, but if there's any team that can really raise their performance and score an abundance of goals, it can be Brentford, and I think they will go very close. So that means coming in 2nd place, I then have Watford, which is a tough prediction to make at the moment, especially when we do touch on their fixtures. However, out of all the sides who are currently really battling it out for that 2nd place between Watford, Brentford and Swansea, in terms of the level of performance that we're consistently seeing from this Watford side, I'd place them one step ahead of the other two at this current point in time, in my opinion. I think the win of the weekend against Cardiff was absolutely massive from them, and looking at, I'd say, the next 6 matches, they're all quite winnable for this Watford side. I think it's make or break for them, because if they go on a 6-game winning streak in those next 6 winnable matches, it sets them up in an interesting position for the final 4, which are very tough. So their final 4 matches, they played Norwich, Millwall, Brentford and Swansea. Watford, I feel like, need to be in a position going into those final 4 matches where they've bridged a little bit of a gap between Brentford and Swansea. Because if that little gap isn't established by them, then on the final 2 days of the season, Watford go into these games needing to beat Norwich, needing to beat Brentford, needing to beat Swansea. To be fair, by the time they play Norwich, they might have already been promoted, so they might not actually have all too much to play for. But those last 2 games of the season especially are going to be make or break here. And of course, that does mean that coming in first place, and there's no surprise really, we do have Norwich City. Now, at the start of the season, I do believe that I predicted Norwich and Watford as the top 2, so I thought that I may as well stick to that sort of prediction. I think I did have them the other way around though. I had Norwich in second and Watford in first place, but while there is still the possibility of that happening, I thought I may as well stick to my guns and to that sort of prediction. But yeah, Norwich by far and away have been the best side so far this season. The question for Norwich fans now is, how many points are you actually going to accumulate this season? The 100 isn't like too far of a possibility away. I think they'll carry on this winning streak though, and in the end they'll win it in style. They've been a great watch this season, haven't they? But guys, as you can see to the side of me, those are my predictions for how I see the championship table finishing come the end of the season. I want to get your guys' views on this in the comments down below, because like I say, so much could change with these final 10 matches, and obviously with all the teams having games in hand and stuff like that as well, it's going to be such a great climax. But guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. If you're going to enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, get all your thoughts in the comments down below. Please do subscribe for a bit of regular championship content. Check out all the links down below, the Patreon especially. Do check that out if you get a spare minute. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.